Right, hello, I'm sending these videos back to back. This one will be on the cards, or it will be a mulligan guide. Don't need to over explain that. What cards I'd want to keep on the play and on the draw for different matchups. I've got a list here. This will be blind, green steel, red blue, red purple, the mirror, FASA, green purple, amber steel. There's probably more as well we could add in there, like purple steel, but these are the ones I think you might commonly see. And we're just going to go over what I would keep and what I would get rid of. We're using the Mickey build. This is the list I commonly play in paper events. It's the one I have built. I'm quite happy with where it's at right now. We've tried a few things like Smash and taken them out, but I think this one covers quite a lot of broad matchups and it gives you a really good chance into all of them. I'm going to use Dreamborn's uh, simulated mulligan system, so it's going to give us our 7 cards and I'm going to tell you what I would like to keep and what I'd like to get rid of. So if we were if we were playing blind on the play, if we were on the play, and it was a blind game, and I didn't know what I was playing up against, we've already got a nice curve here. I mean, we still, as much as we want to hit ramp on 3, we still want to find that really nice curve. Let it go would be getting rid of. We don't need a second quill. We don't need um, two SMEs. So we've got a 1, 2, 3, and we'd keep the hero for draw power. What we can do from here though now is because we know we have a nice draw, we're going to be playing Popsicle, then we're going to be SMEing, then we're going to be quilling. What we can do is we could say keep a card like Let It Go, because that means on turn 1, if we were to mulligan all these cards away and we were to get uninkables, we can now have a card that we would want to ink on turn 1. So we don't want to play Let It Go, we don't want really much from it, we just want to be able to ink it. So actually, yeah, I think I would just be throwing these 2 cards away. And that's nice, so we would ink Let It Go and we'd play Fortisphere. It'd come back to us, and if we found out, say, it was a green steel, we now have a Baboom. If we found out it was a red purple or any other matchup, we can now play our Smee down. So that's a pretty nice hand to sort of set you off with. So, yeah, I'm amazed by that hand. So uh, on the draw blind, there's a lot of stuff here with double dimes somehow. That happens more than you'd like, so we'd have to get rid of them. We don't really want the grab your swords right now. It's uninkables. Zeus can go. Tinkerbell can go. We've got one of the I'm not going to say worst, but not the ramp we particularly want, but it is still ramp. So just because we didn't get anything else we can work with, we want to play with this. Um, I like Quill on the draw a lot more because then we can just keep ramping and to a point where we are dwarfing how much ink they have. Because on the play, all we really do when we use a Mickey ramp is we just get to where they are. If you get what I mean, because they will ink before us, so we'll always be one behind. Mickey will just level that out for us, but it's still not bad. It's still ramp. Um, yeah, that's into a hand that's not amazing. Sometimes just uh, sorry, blue still just doesn't work out for you. But there's still stuff to play with. We'd come back and take the draw. We might get a Porpsicle. So we could ink, say, a Tamatoa, play the Porpsicle, come back. Hopefully we could find a hook or a Smee or something to get on the board. Play a Mickey out and hopefully get to Hiram drawing. We didn't really want Holy World in this hand. That could just be either if we get a Quill and we could quill that away instead of a Mickey. Or we could just go aggressive and start wheeling for the dime if that's a play we find out. We get a 5-drop. We can play a bell down, then we can wheel, then we can, just keep ramping. But I'd say actually on the draw, that's not the best hand to see. But you can still work with that. And the more you play blue steel, the more sort of fun ways you get to see how to come back from a hand where you didn't get an early drop like a Smee or a hook or any presents. Yeah, I want to start rambling about being on the blind draw now. So this would be into green steel. We got some really good cards here. So we'd get rid of the Whole New World. It's a song. It's against green, so we hide songs. We get rid of that. We don't need the aerial. She's not going to see much play. We will keep the Popsicle for turn 1. We'd keep a Baboom for turn 2, and we'd keep a Mickey. There's a debate to keep 2 Babooms, but I would say no. I'd want to look for a Harem instead. So we get rid of Baboom. And there's a big debate on keeping Tinkerbell. I actually would keep Tinkerbell because we're not going to be hurting our hand too much because we'll be Popsicling, and then we would take something out and then we can get it. It will be one of the best answers we have for, say, Bucky, sorry. So I think she's a really good thing to keep here. So I'd actually do that. And that's not not a great hand either, but with the draw power that you get from blue steel, we would ink, then we'd play the popsicle, we might draw into something good like a harem, we could baboom, and then we can just keep going with things. We might get to a point where we'd want a whole new world, but it is green steel, so likely that will just be something that we can use to discard when they start discarding, or Ursula might grab that, so we wouldn't be too upset with that because we weren't going to use it. When they Ursula, they mainly want to find your grab your swords, so that wouldn't be too bad. So if we're on the draw versus green steel, what I'd keep here is I keep the popsicle. We don't need Titans. Grab your swords a song. Get rid of this. We haven't hit ramp yet, so there's a lot of things we can get rid of here. Let it go as another song. I'd get rid of all of these so we could popsicle and then we could hear them, hopefully, if they don't Aladdin us. So this is probably what I would keep. We haven't hit ramp, and we really want to hit ramp, especially on the draw, because they're just going to start buckying and start doing a lot of work there. So we get rid of that. And we didn't hit the ramp we want. We got 2 whole new words, so that's not great. The play I'd probably do is ink the Captain Hook, play the popsicle. Would probably even ignore the Smee on turn 2 if they get the Bucky out and they start doing Bucky work, because we want cards to discard and we don't want to be ink starved. We would try and get the quill set up, even if that means we quill once, quill something, get the ramp, then they Aladdin it. We'll be 1 up, and yeah, hopefully Hiram can put some work in if we get another item as well. On 5, we get that and that. Yeah, that's not their most amazing hand, but sort of you'll find people can work with it, and that's going. All of these predictions in my head are going in thinking my opponent has the exact curve they want. So sometimes they won't, sometimes they might slip up on the tempo. So this will be going into red blue on the play. We have got a ramp card. It's probably not our best option, but it's a ramp card. I would get rid of all of these. We have to be extremely greedy versus red blue, because they will ramp, they will keep up with us. They might even do it better if they one jump ahead than Quill. So yes, but all of these cards would be utterly useless into that matchup. And we still didn't get a great hand here. So going in, I would ink a Tinkerbell. Hopefully we draw a Smee or something the next turn. Or actually, our ink starving would be quite hard here. So hopefully we draw, yeah, probably a Smee or something, and then Hiram will have to go Beast, and then maybe we could whole new world back into action here. But even after that, we're pretty much fully gone on ink. So Beast might have to go as well, or we will just ink whatever we draw, so we can keep up. Ink, don't play, draw something, ink that, and then hopefully ink that. Mickey, Beast, Zeus if we need it, and yeah, just keep it going. If we got a whole new world, that would put us back into action. So actually, what we could do is ink the harem instead, and say we're not going to be doing anything to do with popsicle drawing. We're just going to look for the whole new world and then wheel into a game plan. On the draw, it's always quite hard, but I would get rid of all of these. 1 popsicle. As I say, we want to be greedy, so we can't keep another item. We get rid of them. We get a Mickey on 3. That's not great either, but it is a 1/3 that can quest for us. So I don't think it's too bad. Play that, and then hopefully just get some ramp. Hopefully they brick a little bit, and we can keep going. Again, not an amazing hand. It's probably ink the baboon, popsicle, and then try and keep some tempo going. Try and get something on the board. Hiram. Maybe we draw into one of our 1/2 drops, but a lot of these hands have been pretty bricky. But I still think there's plays there. And because we have a lot of steel removal, if we're like, we're not winning the board, or we're not going to win that early questing aggression, we can at least remove some stuff and wait for it to appear. Hopefully, I think with this deck, at this point, with this hand, you'd hope to draw into a Quill, Hyper Ramp, Hiram actually get some good draw off, and then you can start diming them. On the draw, it'd be hard, but it's on the draw in Lorcana. So this would be a hand for red purple on the plate. We didn't hit ramp, or we didn't really hit much of what we wanted. So I think the Tinkerbends can go. Whole New World can go. The only thing I'd question is keeping Cogsworth, and that would be if I was in a really confident mood and I'm thinking we are going to hit a Smee. We are going to hit turn 3 ramp, and we are going to get another whole new world from the draw. But even still, I think I would just full mulligan that away. And yeah, we got that into nothing on 2, but hopefully we'd get something on 2. I swear I play smees and hooks in this deck. But yeah, even on that, we'd turn 2 these two, play this out. Hopefully these would produce some good draws. Ink the big crab, ink the beast, but a beast could also be a singer for the whole new world. It's not terrible. Hear him draw into some answers. If it sticks, it can sing a Zeus for you. So that's still not a terrible hand. On the This would be on the draw as red purple. We've got some fun options here. We don't need 2 of the ramps. Heron would be nice if it could work. We don't need 2 Smees. What we could do is 1, 2, 3, and then hopefully get something else. We didn't get any items, but I think I'd still keep him because he's quite an essential part of winning on the draw versus red purple. Baboom, I would opt to keep for the Flynn because on the draw, on the play, you can sort of cheese a Sisu by dumping so much in your inkwell that Sisu isn't empowered as long as you have a Smee out as well. You can just basically stop it because you'd have a 3-3, they'd have a 3-3. They don't gain the lore, they won't quest because the Smee is a good trade. And so you could keep it like that. But in this scenario, you could, in a sense, get rid of it, hoping to get something else that was better, but I think it's still probably one of the better things to get. I'd keep the Baboon for the Flynn because of all I've just mentioned. You really want to just win aggression early on the draw versus red purple. So so Captain Hook and Smee is pretty nice. I'd get rid of them. Not bad. I mean, say you would draw an extra card. If it was a Popsicle, you'd ink and play the Popsicle. You'd ink probably a big crab or the beast. And play the Popsicle. If not, you play Hook, Smee, or Baboom if it's a Flynn, just because you don't want them to get that Sisu. And then we'd ramp, and then we'd do the usual things. We'd just be doing it all a turn behind. So it's still not a terrible hand. I think that you could still win from that, give or take what the red-purple player draws. So this will go into the mirror. Mirror sort of sucks because it's basically who gets Cogsworth down. These we want to draw into a later point in the game, so we'd get rid of them. We don't need 3 Captain Hooks, but there is an argument that you would keep 1 because that's a thing that you can turn sideways, and if they hit the Smee, you've now got like, okay, you can't turn sideways with your Smee because my Hook will take it out. So there's an argument's sake for that to be kept. Because I'm quite an aggressive player when I play blue steel, I think I would keep it. I'd keep these 2, and yeah, I'd mulligan the rest away. That's turned into a pretty nice draw. So we could ink the Baboon because I don't think we'd have any targets for that. The best target would be after the Smee had quested on your opponents. You could take it out, but you wouldn't be able to play it on curve really because you'd want that you'd play that on the turn 3, and that wouldn't be very good. So we'd ink that, play the Fortisphere, or we would ink that and play the Hook if we want to start turning sideways really quickly. Get to a point where we can set up a Quill, get the Cogsworth out, sing Whole New World, and just keep out-tempoing them. Bell, if we drawed other things we could ink, I'd probably ink them over that. I'm trying to think what we would want to ink over that. Maybe a big crab's a bit too early, a let it go's a bit too early. Ink the Hirams because we are going to do a Whole New World play. So yeah, that's not a bad hand. I think that's a winning hand versus the mirror. Yeah, and okay, so we're on the draw versus the mirror. I would get rid of these for starters. We've got some nice stuff going on here. Get rid of these 2, and so let's say we've got the same thing again. We can get a thing out that turns sideways. So if they miss their 1 or 2 drops, 1 or 2 character drops, we've got a thing that turns sideways. If not, we've got a thing that stops Smee from questing. A bit defensive, but it's not too bad. But we were going to hit Fishbone Quill into a Cogsworth, and then we'll set up a nice board. Because it is the mirror, and it sort of just isn't great. What we'd hope is they miss some tempo, so that could be missing the Smee, missing the ramp, missing the Cogsworth. If they, on the turn when they should be playing Cogsworth, if they play a Heron out, that's not that bad, because now we play a Cogsworth and be like, okay, I'm just going to turn sideways and win this game. So we're mulligan that away. Yeah, not bad. We'd ink the Baboom, and then we would... from there, you could either play a Captain Hook to start doing the turn sideways, as I mentioned, and then turn 2, you could play another Hook and a Popsicle. If you are really winning in the aggression, you could get to a point where you say, actually, I'll ink the quill, play the Mickey, set up the Cogsworth, and then just protect as I turn sideways. That'd have to be a point where they really just don't have anything on board, and they just ramp to, say, a Cogsworth, because that's only going to do 1 damage to Captain Hook. But, it's the sort of nature of blue steel. You've really got to look at what your opponent's doing and what you're doing. But I'm only really supposed to be covering the mulligan, so I don't know why I'm going so in depth on that. This would be into FASA. FASA is a very, very tricky one, in my opinion. It can either be the easiest game of your life or the hardest game. There's some cards we want here, but we don't want to draw this early. Like a giant Tinkerbell. Cogsworth's probably going to go. He's not going to do too much work here. I think because we haven't hit ramp, and I like to play my 5 rule, we would get rid of all of these. And we keep that because, as I said, they're just going to play something and it's going to start turning sideways. We do actually want a Baboom in this matchup because we fear the Mulan or the Mother Gothel getting played and then getting healed. So we'd actually like to find one of them. But yeah, I think mulligan these away. It'd be nice to draw a Tinkerbell. If we had a ramp, like a Quill, I think I would keep a Tinkerbell, but we don't seem to have one. So I'd get rid of all of them. And that's ended up being quite a nice hand. So we'd ink that to start off with because we're probably not going to win on diming. They're actually quite an aggressive deck. They turn sideways quite a lot and they quest for 2. So we'd ink that, play this out, see what they play. Sometimes they miss their 1-drop or whatever. We could play this. If not, we could take out like a Mulan. I don't think that's too bad. It's going to stop them getting 1 extra lore. Get the Mickey set up. We probably would like the Captain Hook set up as well. So we would not ink it that aggressively, would ink probably what we draw. But if we get that into, say, the Cogsworth, we could play that out, keep it protected. Now we have a Zeus to sing for their Gaston. And then we can get to a point where we can set up a Tinkerbell, and then we can start winning the board quite heavily. And most of them don't play Be Prepared. I think that's quite a fantasy at this point that FASA plays Be Prepared. But they're along the Zeus for the Gaston or the Doc. I haven't seen Doc as often, but yeah, you can stop them getting their ramp. It'd be nice to sing that, but we haven't got a Hiram yet. So if we did, I think we would. But the Hiram is a big brawl target for them. On the draw, yeah, it's not a bad hand here. There's actually a lot we want to keep, but we also want to hit ramp. So we'd get rid of Let It Go for starters, Tinkerbell, Zeus, Fortsphere. We want these cards, but we don't really want them either. It's kind of a strange one. And because I'm quite looking for that ramp, I would keep the Fortsphere and the Boom. Hiram is, yeah, it's an on and off one. If we keep the Hiram, we don't hit ramp. This is a really hard fight for us. If we keep the Hiram and we get ramp, this is a lot better board state. But I'm going to throw one away. And that's turned out to be a really nice hand, actually, because we'd Popsicle on turn 1. I always rate Popsicle. If you have a choice between these two, I always rate Popsicle over Fortisphere. And then we'll see what they play. We either Boom or we start threatening the board. We'd ramp to get the Cogsworth set up, ramp to get the Tinkerbell set up. Hopefully we'd draw into Herons from these. And yeah, that's actually quite a winning hand against FASA. So yeah, that's quite a nice one. And that will sort of play itself as the game goes on. Next is green purple. This is the newish green purple with the merfolks and the jacks and all of that fun stuff. We have to song hide because they do have 2-drop Ursula. We wouldn't keep these songs anyway. We don't need 2 Hirams. Hook to start threatening the merfolk or anything they play is nice. So I keep that. And as you might notice with my build or the way I play Blue Steel, I do like to win the board early, and sometimes that can be achieved just by a Captain Hook. So I'm quite fond of keeping him. We do want a Popsicle for the Hiram, but hopefully we draw into one. As I say, it's Popsicle turn 1 is an amazing play, but it's not so amazing that you need to hit it and you have to hit it. It's just, if I did it, that's great, because then later on when I play my Hiram, I don't have to establish an item. So we get rid of all of them. And that's even better. So yeah, we'd get rid of the Let It Go, we'd play the Fortisphere out, then we'd establish the Smee. We'd probably set up the Quill, and then we get a Hiram out to draw. What only thing we'd be fearing about is Queen's Castle, but if we had the Smee, we might get a Zeus, which we could sing from the Hiram, or we might get a Titans. There is one in the deck, which is a nice little fun thing to have. So yeah, that's a pretty good hand versus green purple, because green purple recently is just trying to win the board quite heavily. And I don't know if they still play it, but if they were to say play Ursula and seeing friends, you now have a nice trade. If you set up the hook, it doesn't even die. Um, but yeah, we also did want a baboon for the Diablo, but still, I think this is a really nice hand. On the draw, this it gets a little bit trickier here, but we get rid of these, I think, because we really want that ramp. I think a quill is better. Hiram's pretty good, but we haven't got any items yet, so what you could do is gamble on keeping the Hiram and hoping you get an item. I think I would take that play because it's the draw and we won't be whole new worlding. We'll be trying to draw with Hiram. So I'd get rid of the both Let It Goes, Song Protection, and they're just not going to do anything this game. Mickey's gone. You could debate Mickey over Quill. It could hit a Merfolk and then die to a Fox. So I think I'd go for a Quill, to be honest with you. So we get rid of that. Really nice hands. 3 Quills is a bit lame, but that's ink for us. So we'd ink, play a Popsicle, Smee, set the Quill up. There's still a debate where you'd set up the Mickey, but I don't think you would. Actually, the debate would be that if they were to Merfolk or Flynn, or you're really getting aggression on the discards, you might want to protect the hand. So you play that out, and then you get the Hiram set up, and you'd be in a really nice spot actually. So yeah, I think that's quite a good hand versus green purple. Lastly, I've got actually I'm gonna do purple steel as well. Lastly, I've got amber steel. We'll get rid of the bell. Get rid of these. We don't need 2 Smees. We could gamble on the Hiram. But you know what? I think is there more things I would like a Cogsworth. I think I'd keep the Hiram. That's the debate that would be playing in my head if I had this hand. But yeah, it's Song Protection for bare necessities, but still we just don't want that in our hand. We don't need 2 Smees. Someone would hope to Popsicle. This is the one time the hook is just not going to do much work for you because like the Storm Rage are so strong. They'll have Cindy or they'll have Shift Queen to take it out. But if you play Smee on turn 2, if they are to Shift Queen and do the Whole New World thing, that's kind of not that bad anymore because now we take it out and they aren't that much ahead and we're both at quite the same card advantage. So yeah, do you know what? I think Whole New Worlds are going to be so aggressive in this matchup that you might want to get rid of the Hiram, but I'm just going to keep it. That's not a bad hand, so yeah, get rid of that. Debate on playing the Captain Hook, but I play so aggressive, I probably would end up playing. No, actually, I probably would end up playing it. Ink of Fishbone Quill, though, of course, because we've got 2. They'll probably item break, but as long as you get the 1 ramp, you're ahead and you're on the play, so you're actually in a really good spot. Yeah, we'd actually might even ink the Hiram because we have a Whole New World in the hand, so I should start looking at that. We have a Whole New World and we don't have an item Hiram. So yeah, that's still not a bad hand. That's a hand I think you could take to a win versus an Amber Steel player. On the draw, we would look for then baboons because we just don't want that early shift. We get rid of these, get rid of this, get rid of this. Debate on a Cogsworth, but I think I want the baboon quite a lot. And I haven't hit ramp, so I'm going to go a little bit deeper. I do have the 5 cards rule, but I think 6 is fine. It'd be nice to draw into a Cogsworth, I think, is how my head is looking. So, not the best hands. Some stuff we just... Lucky Dime we can't really use this early on. Grab your swords, but we have a draw, and we'd get an extra draw because we're on the draw. So, I think we'd find ramp at some point. You might just play Captain Hook out and take the risk versus the Let the Storm Rage on. It will stop them turning sideways with certain cards. So I'd say it's not the worst hand in the world, but we didn't hit ramp and we did a 6-card mulligan. So, that's how Blue Steel rolls. Versus Purple Steel. I'm trying to think of a sort of a common list. So you've got low to the ground. Purple Steel, all the lists sort of run low to the ground. They have a lot of turning sideways early on. But you're still fearing Queen's Castle and stuff like that, so we'd get rid of these 2. Cogsworth would be brilliant. We probably don't need 2 items. This is nice to have, but I think actually I would really want to get something on the board quite early on. I'd like to get a Smee, but I think I'd keep the Cogsworth actually because it does win you quite hard versus Purple Steel. So yeah, I'd keep that hand. I mean, like, I'm probably being quite stupid by not keeping the Hiram, but I really do want to get a Smee on the board. And that's not turned out to be that bad, so we'd ink that, play that, Hook out, Quill, get the Tinkerbell set up. If this doesn't die, we now have castle removal threatening, and we've probably drawn into some more lovely stuff. So that's, yeah, that's not a nice hand that I think you could navigate towards a win on purple steel. On the draw, they're going to play quite aggressive. We of course don't need these songs. Spell isn't going to do much work. These two I like to keep. We actually have a nice-ish looking hand if we were to draw into ink. At that point, you could debate keeping a bell just to ink, but I'd get rid of her. Um, I think, yeah, as much as it probably isn't the most agreeable play, because we've hit ramp, I would keep the two options we have. So if there's something like, say, they play Robin Hood, and we're like, oh, we don't want that shift to happen, we can baboom. If they play anything else like Chernobog, and then they play something a bit even more boring, we can be like, okay, no, we would just keep the baboom or we ink it. Not turn into the best hand, but we did get two items. We'd draw, so we draw if it's bad, we'd ink it. If not, the debate can start coming up between inking these two. So, as I said, if they played a Robin Hood, we could be like, Smee's just not going to come down on turn two, so we'd ink that and play the baboom. If not, we could go vice versa. So there's a lot of options there. On the draw, we tend not to want to do the whole new world play, but we've drawn one and we have a Cogsworth. So if we ended up with a 1, 2, 3, 4, we could sing on 5, but that would all be depending on what we draw as well. So that's sort of a mulligan rule. I mean, yeah, sort of things to notice. If I don't get rammed, I usually mulligan at least 5 away, even if those cards are good in my hand, because if we don't get it, we're just playing as a mid-range sort of steel deck, and that's just not what we do. That's not going to get us the win. Um, and yeah, it is a hard deck to explain and just say hit ramp on 3 and keep doing stuff. But there's a lot more things to play around with, and I hope I might have convinced some people that Hook is still really good in this deck. Yeah, but that was a lot of rambling, but I hope some of that's worked.